Yeah, I gotta get you on YouTube. 1 second. I'll be right there.
Okay, let me know when it's good.
I will let you know. Yeah, I gotta get you on YouTube. 1 second. I'll be right there. Sorry about that. Okay, good to go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Barb. Thank you all so much for coming. I think we can start our October 6th, 2022 Safety and Student Wellness Ad Hoc Committee to order. So yeah, we just want to do our general check-in with everyone. How's everyone doing? I think we can just popcorn it as usual. Does anyone want to start?
I'll begin. This week, it was kind of rough a little bit. I think, just with the election coming up and, the anxieties are definitely there. But I have a lot of hope. I got to talk to Student Senate yesterday about the election, so that made me feel really happy and hopeful. So yeah, it's a mixed bag, but we'll get there. And I will popcorn it to Mike Jones.
Thanks, Maya. Hello, everyone. I think my week's been kind of a mixed bag. Some lows, and then but also experiencing some highs, seeing some growth, especially visiting some schools and some places where last year it was kind of having a rough go of things, and seeing some growth and positivity there. Hopefully we can spread that to other schools in need of that. But yeah, just kind of like Maya, a lot of things on the plate and a lot of anxieties about how the next month or two is going to go, and just trying to make sure we kind of begin kicking things into high gear. So I will pass it on to Jessica.
Yeah, some highs and lows too. Not enough time. I think everybody's just October gets really hard. Yeah, not enough time. Really glad to have my support system at my school though, and the kids are awesome too. Megan.
Yeah, my week's been okay. I had my first round of AP tests and quizzes, which were violently humbling, but it kind of shows how hard they are and how much harder I need to work. So at least I know for next time. Um, yeah, Mia?
Yeah, thank you. Like Megan said, AP classes are no joke, so it's been really stressful, but otherwise pretty good. Joanna?
A very interesting week. So, because college applications are coming up, and I'm applying early action to a few schools, and there's a counselor situation I will follow right now. So I don't know who my counselor is gonna be, and I've already switched counselors 3 times basically, because all of them have either retired or resigned. So pretty stressful with that, but everything else has been good, like Student Senate yesterday. Did Mari want to go?
Sure. Yeah, I actually don't have a lot to report, so I'm not going to waste everybody's time. I'm enjoying the lovely fall weather. I will throw it to, let's see. I'm sorry to make everybody. How about Andre?
All right. So busy week like everybody else, but going good. I like the fall weather as well. So I will pass it to Dr. Hicks. We might, oh, there she goes.
I was just talking and everything. It's been a fulfilling week. I'm very excited, very humbling and appreciative. Been seeing some wonderful scholars in schools. living their best lives, wanting to learn, being engaged. Schools are feeling conducive environments to learning with high expectations. So I am uber excited, and yeah, lots of work. I'll pass it over to Rebecca.
Knee deep in work and humbled by how strong our families are to struggle through all the systems that they need to. So I'm going to pass it to, is Gordon here? Is that what I'm seeing? Yeah, Gordon.
Hey everyone, Pronasi, my weekend. We're talking about weekends, right? Sorry, I got here late.
Just like the week in general, anything.
Oh, to be honest, it's been hectic. Yeah, a whole lot of readings and all of that stuff. But it's been, I still have enjoyed it though. So, who hasn't gone?
I think everyone has gone.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nice to see you, Gordon.
You too.
My week's been pretty hard. The 8Ps really starting to kick in. Feel like September just like flew by. Does not feel like October already. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than that, it's been pretty good. Okay, I think we can move on to our next item. Approving the minutes of our last meeting. I move to approve the minutes from the meeting of the Safety and Student Wellness Ad Hoc Committee dated September 22, 2022 as written.
I'll second. And then just call all those in favor.
Oh yeah, all those in favor, raise your hands.
Aye.
Cool, okay. That's all right. Okay, then Maya, you can take it away with the next item. Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
Dr. Hicks.
That was just me raising my hand. I need to unraise it now.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, the kids are just walking the dog and they're telling them to sit. I'm like, okay. So going into the fourth item, Dana is not here, but we wanted just to kind of share just her report again with you all. Barb, do we want to share it on screen? Otherwise, I can just go over it.
Sure, I can share it.
And then we just wanted to also go over the methodology that she used to compile the information. Everybody the liaison should have gotten an email from Barb a couple days ago, just letting you know like what the charge. I'm kind of re-engaging and just refocusing on what we're tasked to do. And so essentially the liaison should be working with the stakeholder groups. And within those stakeholder groups that you are a part of, there should be another person with you doing the work. You're basically going to collect feedback from the stakeholders, report the findings using the guiding questions that we used that we sent in the email. So again, it's what is our vision for student safety and wellness? What would you like MMSD to do differently and more? And then what are you committed to doing to support our vision? And our vision is MMSD's vision. And so this was a report that Dana had done based off of her conversations with multiple groups. So she put it so she had the background based off of the conversations that she had with the folks, and she had a couple different types of ways that she got the information. So one, she reached out to all of her groups, community groups that worked with students and young people. And then what she did was she split it up into two. One group of folks who work with MMSD already, and then another group of folks who don't necessarily work with MMSD, but they work with youth just around the city. And she asked those questions of them, and she created a survey. So for folks who couldn't, do like a Zoom, or couldn't do like an in-person meeting, or or a phone call, she was able to create a survey so folks can do it that way. And so she did it a couple different ways, as I mentioned. So she did the survey. She did. She had a meeting set up where people could come in person and talk. And then she also had the option of doing a Zoom. And so she scheduled a Zoom where people can drop in and also come in, give their input. And with each of the organizations, she found a person that she could keep in contact with. That way, if there was any other feedback that folks may have had later, that they could possibly still reach out to her, and she can kind of keep that loop of communication going. And so in the report, she had the background. So she reached out to 26 organizations. And then based off of those responses and the information that she got, she kind of compiled the data that way. So the first question, based off of the conversations that she had, she compiled all into some of these themes. So what is the vision for student safety and wellness? And then she went through that part. And then Barb, if you can just scroll down. And then she took the information for the second question of what would you like MMSD to do differently or more, and compiled that. And then the last question, what are you committed to doing to support MMSD's vision? And then compiled that. There is a meeting where I think it was like maybe 3 meetings ago, she actually went a little more in depth as well of like, each of the findings. But Barb, you can stop sharing. But we just thought that we can show this, kind of give what her methodology was. And then, we sent out the email with a little more detailed of what we're kind of looking for. And so now we want to just open it up and kind of like just discuss on, answer any questions that folks may have. My goal is not to be here all night, but just really get you guys as much information for you guys to start that work. Our next meeting is going to be October 27th. So really, essentially, we have like 3 weeks to try to, we could still do it after then, but 3 weeks to start getting the work kind of together. So yeah, I'm going to just open it up to questions. Just raise your hand and we can have questions and or just clarification folks may need. Okay, Mia.
Yeah, so quick question. Do you want the students to do anything, or do you only want the liaisons and like the stakeholders to do stuff regarding what you just talked about?
Yeah, so the thought is that students will also be doing this work. And I know Gordon just came off a camera. So I don't know if you want to speak to that, Gordon. But he had just came off camera.
For like the stakeholder group,
For the students.
Yeah, the students, they can support. That's definitely helpful, especially if you want to get more youth voice involved in our recommendations. I do know I was going to personally be involved in all the stakeholder groups that I could, so.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, students can definitely do the work in engaging other students and holding conversations too, because I believe most of the students that are on this call are at different schools. And on top of that, you guys are probably part of different organizations. So not everyone is part of the same like student org or friend group. So yeah, I would say definitely utilize those questions. And we created a template that we will send an email after with the template that has the guiding questions, kind of like in the way that Dana's report is, very similar to that. So that you guys can use that and just make a copy of it and put it in there. That way you can keep things kind of like together, if that makes sense. But does that answer your question, Mia?
It does, thank you.
Okay. Mari?
So I am one of the 2 parent liaisons, and my co-liaison, I don't think has been on the last several meetings. But I tried to get the ball rolling a few weeks ago. It was like the first week of school. I emailed every principal in the district and asked to be connected with their parent, like whatever their equivalent of the PTO is. And I got some responses and like a little bit of feedback, but I'm a little bit frustrated and a little overwhelmed by the logistics of, actually getting into the schools and getting all these responses.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know who is on my team with this, because I would love some support.
Yeah, absolutely. So we went and Barb, I saw you come off mute, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Maya. I can
Yeah.
I can fill in or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, so we spoke with Cindy Green and Dr. McGregory and Dr. Jenkins just about the support that we're going to need, because some of the liaisons were reaching out directly to the schools and needed more support from the principals and such, to try to talk to some of the parents and families. And they are going to work to get us possibly 2 community, well, I forget what their titles are, but in a district, but basically 2 staff who can help assist us in making that communication with some of the principals and some of the schools, so that it's a lot easier to get that, I guess, not you necessarily directly communicating with the principals and trying to expect a response, but also having someone who is there to help you get the response and also work with some of the schools. Am I right, Barb? I just want to make sure
Yes, definitely, Mari, because your particular group is about youth and family stakeholder group. So you definitely are one of those that is going to go directly into the school. That's where we're trying to get. So yes, what Maya just said is that we do have a couple of staff people who specialize in community engagement, and also from the curriculum department, so that we can have somebody who can grease the skids for us to get into the schools and give us some ways to do that. So when Maya was talking about the different methodologies that Dana used, we're going to use a lot of that process too. So in person, surveys, online stuff, and all the other different processes that they may come up with that we can use to get that feedback and respond to those 3 questions and come back with a similar report that Dana Pelabon created. So that's the plan. We do have to do the work, and Mari, you will be one of the people that we definitely get in touch with directly with these staff members to work on getting into the schools. Jessica, you're also in that realm too, if you need some more help with staff or want to reach out to a broader bunch of staff and other schools too. So that's part of the plan for Maya and Lavinia to meet with the liaisons separately and talk about all this in detail so that we know how to go forward.
So will someone reach out to me, or do I need to reach out directly to somebody to get this going?
We'll be reaching out to you, Mari.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And Maddie.
I'll say the likelihood of teachers talking to district staff is going to lessen things. So are we looking at mostly high schools, or are we looking broader than that? Because the list of people that I was given were all high school folks, and I have connections at the high schools. I can work that way. But what are we looking at?
So definitely that would be part of the conversation with Maya and Lavinia on the side. Okay.
Yep, we'll reach out to you all individually, and just kind of help you create a plan, just so that we can also make sure that we're reaching out. Not everyone is reaching out to the same people as well.
Right, and provide the support. Yes.
I saw Rebecca come off of mute. No.
Well, I thought Jessica's question, a part of the question was reaching out to only high schools. Maybe for her, that would be her population, but I think we agreed up as a group that we wanted to make sure that we were getting feedback from both elementary, middle, and high school around the safety and wellness.
Yes, we do want to get the feedback from the middle schools and elementary schools. Right now, I believe, Jessica, I think you might be the only liaison for the staff piece. But we can definitely get some support to work with folks at the elementary and the middle school level as well. Because I'd also agree, and I think we all as a body mentioned that a couple meetings ago, that we thought it was important to get at every level some feedback from staff as well. Gordon?
In the creation of the stakeholder group for staff, the reason why it's so skewed to high school staff is because, the whole formation of the committee was as a result of what happened at the high schools. So we just assumed that we may want to prioritize the high school reach before we go down to other levels, because that's when it gets a little more different. It's a lot different, in terms of violence in schools and et cetera, from high school to middle school, in my opinion. So I think maybe we need to think about which one can we actually prioritize in the given months, because we are running out of time. So I do think we should get feedback from all levels of education, but I do think high school is where the center of focus should be.
Thank you, Gordon. Dr. Hicks?
Thank you for that, Gordon. And while I think that the high school is important, I do also think middle school is as equally as important, because these same issues occur at that level as well as at the elementary level. And I think that if we're going to do things, I know we want to get things done fast or as quick, but we want to do things well. And we want to make sure we're going across all levels, because if not, then we're going to have to end up backpedaling. And so I believe in this idea of going slow to go fast in order to get get the data that we need in order to move forward. And it's aligned across all levels. The work.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Hicks. Mike Jones?
Yes, I actually just wanted to support what Dr. Hicks said, just upon reflection, some of the conflicts that stemmed from the high school last year that really made the headlines stemmed from conflicts that started in middle school. So I think, if we're really trying to get to the root cause of it, we really want to look at all the levels and how those feed into it, because sometimes that's, having worked middle school, sometimes it's conflicts that are stemming from elementary school and and whatnot. So I think it is I do agree that we need to be kind of purposeful and making sure all of our levels we're addressing it, so we can also be kind of have that level of coherence among staffers who are who will need to talk to each other as students transitioning from 8th to 9th grade. Middle school and high school should be talking to each other about how to best support the students, just like a student going from 5th to 6th grade. So so that was just my 2 cents in terms of supporting what Dr. Hicks said.
Thank you, Mike, for that. Gordon?
Yeah, I understand that too. And I'm just saying that, the policies as a whole will affect all levels of education, but in terms of the stakeholder groups, then we might have to reach out to, other behavior support staff at those schools, teachers, principals and stuff too. I was also thinking maybe AVID coordinators, since they have a lot of more ties to a diverse set of students. Well, depending on the school, but generally they do. But I was wondering, since Dr. Hicks did mention how we want to go things about more slowly things, I wonder how can her office help with, working with middle schools, since she is over middle schools.
Can you
Go
say
ahead,
that last part again? I just heard you say something about me being over middle school, so I don't know if I went in and out or not.
Yeah, I was wondering how could you and your team can help like us in this process, because I understand we want to go slowly, but I mean, you know how these things are. We are pressed for time. So, is there anything that your staff can offer to support us in this for middle school outreach?
So if you can be specific about what it is that you might need, then I can say if we have, what we can or we cannot support with. I mean, the goal, I'm here to support all of what you need. So what that might look like and what that is will be determined by what is needed.
Okay, yeah, I'm just saying, like, as far as we reach out to middle school principals and people who are part of their admin team.
Okay. And so, if that happens, again, I can help to support the follow through and the opening the door, or like say, well, this is what needs to happen, things of that nature, so that, and keep the pulse or the tap so that it's fluid and it's open and it's not a whole bunch of pushback, or, and the other part of that is too, it's not even about pushback. It's about just being able to attend to it, to make sure that we're letting people in the spaces that they need to be.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, and as mentioned, I know that Jessica, that is her area of like for student or for staff. But we can definitely, Jessica, we'll work with you, Lavinia and I, on like a plan for the high schools. And then Dr. Hicks, we can work with you on just like what possibly we can do at the middle school level to kind of engage some staff. And maybe we utilize the two community engagement folks that we have from CNI, as well as from Dr. Stanford Taylor's office. So we can figure that out together on that plan. That way we can touch both high school and middle school as well. Any other questions or just comments about or troubleshooting that people feel that they want to ask right now while we're all together? Okay. Folks feel genuinely good about the direction that things are going, or just like, with the information they have so far? Yes, thumbs up, sort of. Okay. So essentially, once we make these plans with you all, we'll start helping you all compile the data and getting the conversation set up and getting things scheduled. And then the next part of the phase is coming together and putting all the pieces, like all of like the reports from every stakeholder group into one area. That brings us into the recommendation grid, so 5.1. The recommendation grid is just here for you all to just see. We don't necessarily need to discuss it per se, but basically once we get everything compiled from every stakeholder group, it will go into this grid. And then as a team, the next task for us then is to look at all the different recommendations, figure out where that recommendation lives. Is it something that we want to recommend to the board? Is it something that we want to recommend to like the administration as something that they don't necessarily need the board for? And then we can set up exactly what are the things that we want to do. And then the next part of that is then once we get the recommendations that we find that we want to move forward, both for the administration and for the board, we need to figure out like what policies might be going with some of the work with the board, right? And then like what budgetary items might be needed for the board to approve and or for the administration to request from the board. Or just put into place if it doesn't meet board approval thresholds. And so that is going to be the largest lift, I think, after we finish kind of getting the input from all of our stakeholders. Essentially, we would like to be done with all of this work by December. I think I mentioned that in the last meeting, partially because the board will start talking about our budget in January, and we will start having those budget conversations. And I want to make sure that we have recommendations that we can say succinctly as a group, as a committee, and as a district, because we've included, and as a city, as we've included all these different voices, this is something that we want to make sure happens. And so, yeah, that is kind of like the timeline. Barbie, you don't have to share anymore. How are people feeling about that? Gordon, go ahead.
So what do you want done by December exactly?
Yeah, so by December, the idea is that one, we have finished having our conversations. We want to try to have that done as soon as possible. Two, once we have those conversations, compile all of the items together into one action grid so that we all can see what that looks like. And then as a group, discuss as to what actual recommendations do we want to move forward to the board and to the administration that has like budgetary items, and then also like any policies that need to be changed or looked at. And so really that's the whole work and from here into December.
Okay, thank you.
Jessica?
I would just iterate that, like, then the plans need to happen almost yesterday, because I mean, it's doable potentially, but November is a crazy, crazy month full of conferences and things like that for staff. So if we're looking to get staff feedback, we have to be really conscious of that November is crazy.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, and that's why we want to try to have as many plans happen within this month as much as we can. But then also remember that, you know, there's a lot of different areas that we can ask folks to participate in. So like if people are just not able to do like the in-person conversation. Oh gosh. Just a second. Sorry, middle schooler just got home. This is my household now. So yeah, so part of it is that even if folks can't do in-person meetings, we might be able to create some surveys and or some space where people could drop things into a drive, or like however we want to do that. And then we can work with you though, Jessica, on different ways to collect information from folks. Yeah. But thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Would it be helpful at all to on that grid to just create another row that is policy recommendations and a row that says that is looking at really some financial backing that is required, and that they're not mutually exclusive. A policy might require some financial aspects. I can't foresee what that would be right now, but there is that potential. So I think just in terms of kind of thinking it through and then helping us formulate some concise recommendations and some perhaps at least ballpark figures around financially what we would be looking at.
Absolutely, I can add those 2 columns.
Yeah, one example I think is, as we talk about it, that I thought of was from our conversations, was like the idea of consent or something like that, right? Or if we wanted to have like advocates in schools around like sexual assault, like that would be a budgetary item, right? Because then that would be like, we need this much for it to have an advocate at each high school or whatnot. And then there might also be a policy update. So some of them can live in both buckets as well. So that's just an example of something that we've talked about earlier this summer. But yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Rebecca. Any other questions about the grid or just about the process at all? No? Okay. And then I think we already went over next steps, right? Yeah. So next steps, well, Lavinia and I will be contacting you all. If possible, can everyone email Lavinia and I just your phone numbers? Just because sometimes my email box is crazy. I can only imagine what some of y'all's email boxes look like, but if we could have phone numbers, it just sometimes might be a little easier. And if for the student reps, if you want to send it just to Lavinia, that's also fine too. As an adult, I don't necessarily need to have it, but it would just be great to, just so that if we need to reach out to you guys quicker, it's an option. If you don't feel comfortable, that's also fine too. Okay. Lavinia, do you want to just like say the next steps or like the proposed meeting times? Sorry.
Yeah, of course. So our next proposed meeting dates, as mentioned before, hoping to do it in 3 weeks, October 27th, at our usual time, 5:15, and then November 10th, 5:15 as well. And we just want to ask, does that work for everyone? Okay, well, I think that's good.
We'll give updates to the core team, to the core group too, as we go through the next 3 weeks so that they are aware of what's going on with the stakeholder groups.
Absolutely. Yeah, Lavinia, you can move on to adjournment if you want.
Okay, yeah, we can move on. Okay. I make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yes, please. Thank you.
I'll second it.
Maya, go ahead.
All those in favor? All right. Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Good job, Lavinia.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Lavinia and Maya, are you still here?
Yes.
Okay.
We stayed on.
Sure, everybody else is gone here. One
Oh,
second.
I think I
Hold on.
accidentally-
1 second. Please don't say anything right now.